Oh, come sit down, Mr. Shore. Have a cup of coffee, maybe. Just because we're in this standoff with one another doesn't mean that we can't be civil about it.
I'll pass.
My, such tension. Is that normal for you? Because it really shouldn't be. Rather unhealthy.
Or maybe the fact that this situation isn't stressful for you is the unusual aspect to all this.
Why would I be stressed? I'm the one in control of this situation after all.
Are you?
I mean, why not look at the reality of what this situation is? The item I came here to acquire is literally in the other room. Quite frankly, you don't stand a ghost of a chance of stopping me. And the only reason I don't just leave with it immediately is because of the likelihood that your backup is who I think it is. Someone that I'm sure you're aware is someone I need to have a very stern conversation with.
The only conversation you and I about to have is me sticking my Jordan so far up your ass that you're gonna be puking up Nike logos for a month.
I don't believe there's any need for that kind of hostility.
No need for... After everything you did to me? Are you that damn sociopathic that you don't even know how much it hurt to give up everything for you? Just have you take control of my every fucking move?
Jake,
No, shut up! You don't get to call me Jake! Not anymore!
I'm disappointed. You were lost. Unable to contend with this inside of you. I helped you let it free. And now my feelings are nothing to you? Is it really that simple for you?
You tossed my feelings aside first.
I don't want to do this. Not to you. Step aside, Jake.
No. And I told you, you don't get to call me Jake anymore. We're not close like that anymore.
Your video on Alexander Kayford, which I should note is not in your Boon Canon playlist, and as such I had to go quite a bit out of my way to find it, is certainly aggressive, make no mistake. However, the thing that got you angry was him insulting everybody who worked on the show.
And then there's that last little blurb of text you placed there. Let me explain why I don't give a fuck if this is supposed to be a joke. See, the reviewer's job is not to tell people that what they're reviewing is garbage and that the viewer should not look for themselves. The reviewer's job is to provide their own opinions. And you know what? If you don't want to recommend this show, that's your business. But this is on your production splash screen. It doesn't matter if you don't like the show. The placement of the statement means that if you are trying to joke, you are instead directly insulting the people who put their hard work and dedication into the project that you are reviewing. I have never seen a reviewer outright attack the very essence of a show in a manner like this. Not even Mr. Enter would stoop this fucking low. My advice, go fuck yourself!
Don't get me wrong. That was incredibly harsh, in fact, harsher than anything you say in the final thoughts I'm about to criticize. However, you were doing it while standing up for the people behind a cartoon, so I would view it as justified. I'm going to go more into detail about this in a minute, but mean is not, in my opinion, an issue on its own. The question should always be why you're being mean.
Right, so lots of shit. For one, it's not a Boon Canon, so it doesn't go into the Boon Canon playlist. It's a commentary I've done, yes, and I could have a separate playlist on my channel specifically for co-ops on other people's channels, but that doesn't mean I should put a Foxcom on the Boon Canon playlist just because I exist there. Now, you could make the argument that there's little jokes that are in relation to my lore to some degree sprinkled into the video, and that's fair, but every video in the Boon Canon playlist has the name Boon Canon on it. It's not just a list of every commentary, and there are even non-commentary videos that are part of the Boon Canon series in that playlist. I see your point about making videos I've done on other people's channels easier to find on my own channel though, and I will take that under consideration going forward in the future. But let's go back to where I was mad. I was already mad. Hell, if you pay attention to the video proper, I was so mad that there was a gag of me refusing to give points and just say final thoughts over and over again. And then there's your little text blurb. You said there's no real heart put into the show, unlike breadwinners. You know what? No, saving it for my final thoughts. Did you just barely above... Final thoughts! Nope, fuck it. Oh, hi there, Search for the Worst. What are you doing? Nope, not. Final thoughts.
Hey, Boon told me to tell you guys something. It was something about, I don't know, final thoughts or something. I wasn't really paying attention.
Why are you still here? Bitch!
Oh, hi, Mr. Nope.
You had to say something eventually.
Final goddamn thoughts!
Majority.
And that, by the way, happened before the text blurb that I'm responding to with the last part of the final thoughts there. Finally, that last part that you just said there. I'll get to that in a moment, but bear in mind that apparently, if I'm defending other people, then it's fine if I'm pissed off. But if I'm the one under attack, not allowed. Just want to keep that at the forefront of people's minds. And also remember, the last thing that Sladester said in that community post was a shot directly aimed at my fucking face. Your point has fallen apart already, and you haven't even made it yet.
Again, I'll explain what I mean in a second, don't worry.
But wait a minute, I'm sorry. Was that you repeating yourself almost immediately after already saying the exact same thing? But weren't you getting on to me for doing that at the beginning of the video? Oh, well, the turbos have tanned, good sir!
Lastly, as for Corey Margera, your first video on him saw you basically just giving him the advice of keeping his ego in check, in a manner I would call both civil and calm.
I normally end these videos with some kind of advice, so here you go. You're not the only person that exists in this world. It's fine if you don't want something, or if you think it should be done in a certain way. That's fine. You're allowed to have an opinion about that, but at least try to figure out why it wasn't done the way you want before you call a company stupid for not giving you everything your way.
While the second video, which is again also very collective and civil, sees you primarily using your final thoughts to point out the hypocrisy to his fans of following an egotistical contrarian.
Now, I'm sure that your fans, some of your fans are going to come over here and watch this, and I have a message for them too. Hopefully they will actually watch to this point. You are aware that when he calls himself a taste god, that when he calls himself like Lord of and Savior of good taste and all that shit, if you have any opinion whatsoever that differs from what he thinks, any whatsoever, that he's spitting in your face, that he's saying that you are objectively wrong because his opinion is the only one that matters. If you do agree with him about every single little thing, then you are the type of sheep that I've heard him get onto society for being. You are exactly the type of person that he hates. So either way, he's spitting in your face. Of course, you could just be following him because he sounds anti-authority, but in reality, you're just following a different type of authority figure. A message for his fans, too. As in, also. I mean, that being said, you're right. I did choose to continue taking the high road when Corey was going as low as he possibly could. I did outwardly call him stupid in the video though, and I actually addressed his fans specifically because I felt like it would hurt him more if I took that route. That being said, apparently your research stopped at videos with Boon Cannon in the title because there is plenty more. And you got called out for this in the comments section of the video, as a matter of fact.
Corey Margera harassed Boon in various ways through the years as retaliation for that first commentary. When you look deeper, civility to Margera's acolytes isn't as earned as you think it should be with him. I'd have asked Boon, or at least looked into the whole history between his and Margera's feud before making this.
This isn't really true. Civility kind of works the other way around. Rather than having to earn civility, you lose rights to civility, if that makes sense. But it's still the same concept in this situation, and the fact that it is gonna come up later.
A couple of things. First off, I didn't say that Boon should have been civil towards Corey. I was criticizing him, saying he was treating Slatester like he did Corey when his actual behavior in those commentaries was much more civil. If Boon had been venomous towards Corey in those commentaries, I'm not going to sit here and act like I would have liked that per se, but at least citing them as precedent would have made sense.
Speaking of coming up later, so is this. The fact that Ephraim would understand why I was being that mean if there was precedence for me to be that mean.
Second off, I did look into the feud. I watched his previous commentaries on the topic. He was specifically making reference to, I assume, how he treated all three of those people in his previous commentaries on them, which I watched for the sake of this commentary, hence why I was able to get clips for them for my commentary. For that matter, I just like this notion that I have to do hours worth of research in order to watch a fucking commentary. And that's coming from somebody who does hours of research sometimes when he watches commentaries. If Boon was talking about how he treated Corey elsewhere, then he should have made that more clear. I shouldn't have to look into everything that happened half a decade ago and then play a matching game with his actions to Slatester.
I mean, you don't have to do hours of research to watch the commentary. These are three people that are associated with deserving harsh treatment on my platform. You can take the reference for what it is, and you can move on. These are people I covered. They're people that come up sometimes as people I've been harsh with, even if, yeah, I haven't been harsh with them every single time I bring up their names.
The first one was due to background noise commentary listening, but the second is mostly due to my having looked into Corey Margera twice now, and Boon has earned that venom after some of the things Margera and his fanboys have done. But I could see why he didn't say why he acted that way. One, he doesn't want to get more from/relive Margera's actions, and two, he assumes his audience knows who Margera is in relation to himself. But first, due to some shit I shall let Boon himself disclose, as I found out what happened from a private source, and the second is only allowed if it relates to those who know about the first reason. If you want to know why he would get so upset in anything Margera related, ask Boon himself, because, whoo boy, from what I know, it is way deeper than what it is in videos. And it'd be kinda rude to tell Boon, you need to tell people why Margera bad in full detail without any fluff, without giving the context of it being for commentary research. TLDR, you're touching on a very personal thing to Boon, but I don't think you have the full context of, as it likely pains or enrages him to bring up, even as a disclaimer regarding anger to the commentary subject.
I'm gonna be honest with you about this one. I'm not even sure what the private information being spoken about here is, to the point where I'm concerned that it may be something I don't know about based on the way it's being brought up. But I'm gonna try to explain what I think it is that I do know. So, Corey continued this obsession with me after my second video on him. There's other videos that show this happening, but we'll cross that bridge in a moment. There's a couple of notable instances that I actually remember where I simply can't find the evidence, or it just isn't available. Which, by the way, the fact that it isn't is also going to come up later. I've had a hard drive and even an entire computer completely die on me since all of this happened, so you might be able to forgive the fact that my archive is incomplete. For one, there's a video where Corey got a community guideline strike on a video where he starts by talking about a porn star in detail and linking her work in the description of the video, and decided to tell his fans that I was the one falsely flagging his videos.
which even if I was flagging the video, I'd be correct to do so. Now, wouldn't I, Veritas? Anyway, this was just the most notable instance of him blaming me for the problems he was having in relation to his YouTube career, which resulted in the false idea that I got his channel terminated. I didn't. He quit on his own, and I had actively chosen to not bring him up long before he deleted his channel. But it's my fault enough where his fans continue to come after me. He also posted a video where he begins by playing a diss track I'd made on someone else. In full. Which is copyright infringement. That diss track is actually gonna be relevant later as well, as is the fact that he played it in full, because there's even though I don't have the video where he did this, there is information that proves that it happened. Well, at the very least indicates that it happened. However, if it's something I don't know about, let's just say it could explain one or two other things in my life that I've never mentioned on my YouTube channel and have no intention of ever bringing up. So we are going to move on.
I'm sorry, but that's not how this works. If I had to go to you later and get private information in order to understand something you said in a public video, you have failed to communicate something to your audience. For that matter, if Boon really wants this to stay private because of how personal it is, why the fuck did he even bring it up in a public video?
But I'm not the one who brought Corey up in the first place. Sladester did. I'm not the one who brought up my name in relation to Corey. Sladester did that too. I didn't start any of this. You're basically saying that if I want something to stay private and someone else makes it a public issue, in order to defend myself, I have to make the private aspects of that public, whether I want to or not. What you are basically saying is the same as blaming a victim of doxing for being doxed.
Margera gets referenced all the time on Boon Canon as how to do everything wrong after an SEC video is made on your material. But when Sladester explicitly brought Margera up as inspiration, it probably escalated things tremendously. A recurring reference for a series needing an explanation per video it comes up, especially to describe what Margera and his fanbase did to Boon, is pedantic at best. I don't see you going after others for this kind of thing either. By the way, my source on the depths of what happened is private, not the info itself intrinsically. Boon has mentioned in some of his videos some of the basics on what Margera and his fanboys have done to him, and it isn't pretty. Like, there's crimes involved with one of Margera's fans' revenge scheme in Margera's name, perhaps citing the context ain't worth revisiting on an emotional level.
Exactly! I've already created the association of Corey Margera with toxicity. I've done so in the video you're covering by highlighting the behaviors that mirror Corey that are toxic, which is what my words are doing in this final thoughts.
Okay, let me explain my issue with your point with an example. Imagine I said in a commentary I was going to Neko Coda the person I'm covering. Not in reference to anything I did to her in my commentaries, but instead in reference to befriending them again months later, as I did with Coda. That would be incredibly confusing, and any new viewer who looks through my content on Coda would almost certainly have more questions than answers.
Well, on top of the fact that what you're saying you're gonna do when you say that makes no sense in terms of narrative for a YouTube video. I say I'm going to Corey Margera you while comparing to other people I've done something similar to, thus indicating to people who know those situations and not Corey's what that means. I then demonstrate what that means by actually doing the thing that I indicated that means immediately. Yours involves a context that isn't in a video at all, and by the way, befriended again months later, huh? You know, you being friends with Neko at the time sure does explain your low-key justification of harassment, doesn't it?
Mind you, that's giving you the benefit of the doubt and assuming I should have to do any research to understand a commentary, which I really don't get. Stan Lee once said every comic book is somebody's first. In the same regard, every commentary is somebody's first. Every commentary of yours is somebody's first, and every time you reference something, it will be somebody's first time hearing it. Putting it inside references like Boon did actually runs the risk of alienating new viewers if done poorly because, although I was willing to do some research, not everybody is. Just look at Yo Pal Gal's albeit pretty damn flawed video on Boon if you want evidence of that. To put it another way, if you reference something I don't know about in your commentary, unless you clearly lay out where I can get said information, I'm under no obligation to look into what's being referenced because I watched this video with the goal of being entertained and not finding a new topic for a research project.
As I explained when I covered her video, I actually laid out information you do need about Corey while leaving out the parts that are not. Your comment was 2 days before that video came out, by the way, so it aged like milk real quick. And that whole Stan Lee thing about how every commentary is someone's first? Sure, it sounds like a good point. But if even a reference to other characters existing that were in previous commentaries is enough to make you feel like I'm breaking that, I got bad news for you about what succeeds in the comic industry. I can also use data to show that in my case, this isn't entirely true, and if it is, people tend to like binge watching the back catalog. You know, like Survivor, but with more gays and less nudity. So, first, I want to look at the lifetime viewership numbers ending at the day before Boon Canon 49 came out, which gives me 57.3% of viewers not being subscribed to the channel and 42.7% being subscribed. I'm not showing the screenshots, by the way, because I'm not even 100% sure I'm allowed to do that in terms of YouTube's guidelines. Some of the more robust figures, like returning viewers, aren't really available for the time period, but that's fine. What I really want is how those figures change as of the date of the video's upload and after, using your upload date as the end date for the data just to have an objective point to measure. The number is now flipped almost entirely. 56.5% of viewers are subscribed and 46.5% of viewers are not. This kind of sounds like me, in theory, losing unsubscribed viewers, right? Wrong. I got 39.4 thousand viewers during that 234-day period for an average of about 168 views per day, whereas the entire period before the upload of the video had 436.5 thousand viewers over 2,907 days for an average of 150 views per day. What the cause of that increase in viewership is, which is probably Boon Canon 50 by the way, doesn't matter. The point is that there are more views and more of them are coming from subscribers. So in my case, the expert opinion that you're trying to use to prove that I'm doing the wrong thing is in and of itself wrong for what my content is. Not entirely, mind you, I still take an interest in making my videos mostly be able to understood in isolation, but also make sure to include benefits that are more than just fluff for those who have already been following. And the funny thing is, remember when I noted how it was an expert opinion? And I've disproven its validity in relation to my content? Funny how something can be subjective and disprovable at the same time, isn't it? Funny how you're relying on an expert opinion in order to make a point about what my content should and should not be. You know, I have an expert opinion too. You ever heard of Carl Jobst?
In a Reddit exchange between Mooney and myself after he released his video, he confessed he only considered my YouTube videos, and didn't look at anything else. Mooney doesn't seem to appreciate the difference between reality and a YouTube video. I have spent hundreds of hours researching The Completionist and his charity streams. It is simply impossible for me to put everything that I know into a YouTube video. It would be 50 hours long. A YouTube video is not evidence. The point of a YouTube video is just to convey an idea and entertain people. Mooney's under the impression the information presented in my videos is all the information there is. This concept is so ridiculous and naive, it's incredible.
That clip did not exist when I wrote this script. I added this part in, because it explains my position way better than I have. The important thing here isn't that it's like Corey. The important thing here is that it's bad. I explain why it's bad. I bring up Corey as a way to tie the narrative back, and to bring up that when you're using those same isms, those same Corey-isms, after you keep saying that you've changed, it shows that it is a lie.
That's the point! That is the point of corrupted by hatred, malice, and spite. That is why I say that Corey is the corruption in Boon Canon 52. Do I need to play that clip too? Or can you understand it from me bringing it up here? I'm pretty sure you can. I know you watched that video. But let's move on.
I do want to apologize for misunderstanding your last point regarding your source being private and not the information itself. With that said, I have 2 questions. 1, where are these videos? And 2, how was I supposed to know this information would be in them? I also did research Boonslayer Corey Margera in hopes of finding more information, and it was just Boon's 2 commentaries which I talked about in the video, and a diss track, which I assumed didn't have any important information. Was I supposed to watch through every video Boon has uploaded since 2016 just off the off chance that any of them would have information about a half a decade old drama? Because if you think that, that's fucking stupid.
I'm not going to show any more of these comments, but I am going to point out that the response to this points out the really easy solution to that. You could have just asked, but what I'm going to do now is call you on your shit on several fronts. For one, I mean, did you listen to the diss track at all? I know it requires media literacy to do so, and that's not necessarily your strong suit, but assuming the rap equivalent of an exposed video is going to have no new information is completely ridiculous. I mean, for one, there's the description of the video, namely, a sign while doing research, without even having to actually listen to the track, by the way, that I would not want to treat Corey Margera as an actual subject on my channel. Sladester bringing up Corey and doing so in direct connection to my name, need I remind you, while enacting the same responses to criticism should be enough to tell you why I'm pissed. But then let's bring up the actual content of the diss track itself. The chorus highlights something that the very beginning of my second video on Corey did, insulting my appearance.
Bam! Margera, wanna talk about looks, wanna go on camera.
But, then, of course, there's this line.
Wanna call me a let me ask this, got anything else to bring to task, bitch?
Now, I don't actually have too much of an issue with my use of the word in question based on the context I was using it in. Namely that if that's all he's gonna say about me, then he really isn't doing a good job of insulting me. But my understanding of why others would have a problem is why I censor it here. Especially since based on the rhyme scheme, you could probably tell what the censored word in that is very easily. Another reason I use it in there is because it's the word he was using to disparage me. Also, remember that copyright infringement issue I talked about earlier? I allude to that as well.
And you play my song without first providing the context. Rap must not be that bad if your fans listen when it hits.
So even though I don't have the actual video he did this in still, what I do have is a diss track that talks about this happening. Thus showing why I would take issue with Corey in a very direct way and being a limited form of proof that it actually happened. But that's just in the source that you actually found when you allegedly did the search. And the reason I say allegedly is because if you were to enter that exact search term you claim to have used, you'll actually find an archive of a lot of Corey's old content, or at least you would when I scripted this, including the video I covered in Boon Canon 4.5 and several other videos that he did on me, including ones that were made after even my diss track. In fact, even with the limited amount of information that would be available from that archive, the stuff about me would take way more than an hour to cover. Even with a whole preamble introducing it with someone else's comment saying that they did research that for some reason didn't pull it up when it was there at the time. You thought I was gonna pull one H-Bomber guy? You sweet summer child!